Start with the thing nobody wants to say out loud. This war is not being won. It is being burned down one river crossing at a time. The episode opens on smoke, a rider reporting that another crossing has been torched and orders to make for Stony Sept. On the ground, it plays like weather, not strategy. A young commander admits he is past enduring Kristen Cole, north or south, and the only plan anyone can offer is grim and circular. On to the next crossing then. What happens is simple, what it means is heavier. The Riverlands has become a place where victory and defeat look identical from a distance, and the cost is paid by villagers that had no side to begin with. That framing is the whole episode in miniature. Everyone is enduring, nobody is arriving. Cut to King's Landing, where Rhaenyra finally has the thing she fought for, and the small council spends the scene explaining why it is closer to a bill than a prize. The news is small and ugly, not Wendish town itself, but a village at its outskirts, fugitives to be rooted out, a lord who has dubbed himself Lord of Harrenhal in the meanwhile. Flea Bottom comes up the way a wound comes up. Young Prince Joffrey has returned this hour from the Vale, another mouth and another responsibility. The recap is a court doing paperwork. The meaning is that holding the capital did not end the war. It just handed Rhaenyra the invoice for it. Why might that matter? Because a throne that generates problems faster than power is exactly the trap the season keeps setting. The sharpest political scene is the quietest one. Alicent, still effectively a prisoner, is used as an advisor, and she tells Rhaenyra a hard truth about her own rulings. Your hand was heavier than warranted by the crime. Around it, others argue the opposite direction, that not every whim needs to be pursued with equal vigor. The recap is a debate about sentencing. The meaning is a queen learning that justice and mercy are both weapons, and both cut the hand that holds them. One reading is that Alicent is the most useful person in the room precisely because she has already lost, which lets her say what loyal advisors will not. The consequence is uncomfortable. Rhaenyra's mercy looks like weakness, and her severity looks like fear, and the city is watching which one she picks. Then the episode does something a battle scene could never do. It shows the war through payroll. The gold cloaks are wavering, and the reason is boringly human. A steady wage does not stretch the way it used to, and coin is not sure to make up for it anymore. The answers offered are worse than the problem. Levy more conscripts, reassign posts, remind everyone that without the city watch, there is nothing between order and Flea Bottom. Someone insists they are hunters, not prey. The recap is administrative. The meaning is that Rhaenyra's grip on King's Landing rests on men who are one missed payment from becoming the mob. Why might this matter later? Because the capital that looks conquered is actually rented, and the lease is due. Rhaenyra's other adaptation is darker and told almost in whispers. A servant is being turned, promising to keep no more secrets from the queen, while another voice reminds her there is good in Rhaenyra, but they have ever been two sides of a coin. Debate is favored with the high towers. The recap is a maid deciding whose eyes and ears she will be. The meaning is that Rhaenyra is learning to rule the way her enemies do, through informants and leverage rather than dragons and speeches. One interpretation is that this is growth, a queen finally playing the real game. Another is that every spy she recruits is proof the throne cannot simply be commanded, only managed. The consequence is a court where loyalty is now a transaction, and everyone knows the price. Now to Harrenhal, and the most unsettling threat of the hour. Daemon is losing, in Norna battlefield. Alys Rivers moves him through the castle like a chess piece, parsing the Regal's conflicts, telling him all stories where a woman they thought vanquished was never vanquished at all, murmuring that he is the sign their allies have been waiting for. She feeds him a child's riddle about an old man who churns the butter but is blind in both eyes, and it lands like a curse. The recap is a man playing games and hearing visions. The meaning is that Daemon's certainty is dissolving. He insists she will not abandon him, then that he must find her, before collapsing in the leaves, half out of his mind. Why might this matter? Because the Black's most dangerous sword is being quietly unmade, and he may not know it yet. The season's newest power source gets its most honest scene. The Dragonseed riders, patrolling above the Trident, admit they have traversed it 50 times in a fortnight and found nothing that feels like purpose. One says his path once lay straight before him, and now the only future on offer is to fly to exile. Another refuses to treat the small folk as pieces, insisting he has lived with these people, eaten with them, that they are not some chip to hold until it benefits someone. The recap is two riders talking on a hillside. The meaning is that the weapons Rhaenyra just gained already have doubts, loyalties, and exits of their own. The consequence is a warning. Dragons the crown does not fully own are not an advantage. They are a liability with wings. The emotional centerpiece is not a battle. It is a room full of candles. In what plays like a vision or a prayer, Rhaenyra and Daemon appear together, and the talk is all about legitimacy and the faith. The High Septon may reject her. If this is truly the God's will, then who dares stand in her path? And the counter, gentle and merciless, you are a woman, Rhaenyra. There will always be those who oppose you. A cold presentiment, nothing more. The scene sits inside a litany, a plea for the maiden to grant them vision, an invocation of the stranger, a declaration that theirs is the path of righteousness, and then, quietly, that something is blocked. The recap is people praying. The meaning is that the show is staging the war as a question of who the gods and the small folk will accept, not who wins the field. Why might this matter? Because an anointed queen and a conquered one are not the same thing, and the episode knows it. Put it together and the title stops being decoration. Unbowed and Unbent describes people enduring under pressure without breaking. And the whole R is a stress test. Rhaenyra endures a throne that costs more than it pays. Daemon endures Harrenhal while his mind bends around Alys Rivers. The Dragonseeds endure patrols that lead toward exile. The Riverlands endures a war measured in burned crossings and shallow graves. And a scout can only report that so we failed. Nothing here is a clean win, and that is the point. The fallout the episode sets up for what comes next is not a battle, it is a breaking point. The first thread to snap decides the shape of the war. So the video ends where the episode leaves us, staring at everything that is bending at once and waiting to see what gives. If Rhaenyra's crown, Daemon's mind, and the Riverlands are all bending at once, which one breaks before the war is even won?